The Education Foundation is very fortunate to have 3 dedicated employees that have worked vigorously to ensure that not only this afternoon's presentation, but all our presentation and events are delivered in an exceptional fashion. Paul Linsky, our Executive Director, has been a catalyst this year in re-energizing and re-establishing relationships with our school districts throughout our footprint. Paul's 20 years experience in higher education, including many years at MIFA and a number of years as Dean of Admissions and Marketing, has been an invaluable resource to the foundation. On the other hand, his strong support for the Yankees is somewhat questionable. However, his wife Jean keeps him in check with the support of our Red Sox, so thank you, Jean. Erica Baum, our program and grant coordinator, has been vital in our school districts, working with our school districts. Thank you, Erica. Erica's past experience as an adjunct professor at the college level and assistant principal at the high school level has been a win-win for the school districts and for the foundation. And Amy Healy, our communications and event coordinator, is our newest member. If Amy could, Amy want to say hello? Thanks, Amy. Amy brings extensive experience from a business perspective. Her past experience as manager of human resources at EMC allows insight and understanding from a business community perspective. Again, thank you for coming this afternoon, and please enjoy the show. Thanks, Paul.
Chris, you'll be pleased to know the 3 of us were over here setting up earlier today, and I was in my Yankee sweats and Yankee hat. Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to especially mention a few of the groups that are here. First of all, could we have our Blackstone Valley Education Board members please stand so people can recognize you? There should be 1 at each table. And we have our close friends and colleagues from the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce, including Jeannie Hebert. Jeannie, where are you? Yes. We're going to be talking about our close relationship with them very shortly, so I'm going to have some others stand at that point. Central Mass Workforce Investment Board partners, we have several here today from both Worcester and Milford, and we're going to explain to you some of the new programming we're doing with them that will benefit the schools tremendously. Mass Development Corporation is represented here today, and they and Quinsigamond Community College are among our new partners for the Amp It Up initiative, which works with informing students, parents, families in general in the schools about manufacturing careers, skills required. You're going to be hearing a lot more about this. We started the program last year with Mass Development's been extremely supportive, and frankly, they're looking at us here in the Valley as one of the leaders around the state in how we're approaching this whole connecting the schools and the manufacturing industry together. We have more superintendents than I can probably name and principals today. We have teachers, we have counselors, and what I'd like to do is just give you some basic idea of who is present. But first, as you each notice at your tables, we have some corporate sponsors, and they provide the funding for today so that this event remains free for everyone, and that it's a great tribute to them, and I want to mention them all. Unibank, Lampin Corporation, Goretti's Supermarket, Southwick Zoo, Gaudette Insurance, Grafton Suburban Credit Union, Access TCA, Fidelity Bank, All Care Medical, Quinsigamond Community College. Please thank the sponsors at your table because they make this happen. All right, we might as well. We added this slide literally this morning because it dawned on us just last night. There's a tremendous diversity of talent and leadership represented here today. And these are just some of the titles you gave us when responding. And if you look at the titles on this list, this may very well be the best gathering we've ever had in the Valley of both educators and community leaders to work together for a 2-hour time frame to try to accomplish some very specific goals. So we found it very impressive. I wanted you to see this, so we just threw this in at the last minute, just to give you an indication of the significant commitment that the schools are making today by sending senior staff, and the significant commitment businesses and community are making by sending their senior staff and leadership. So people taking this very seriously, and we really appreciate that. We want you all to realize that your colleagues are treating this event as something that will produce results, and we're going to show you some results very shortly from our first one this past year. So here's the agenda. Roughly speaking, we're going to try to follow it. I've actually got a 6-page script up here, not with any notes on it, but just with a time frame. This should happen at this time type situation. So we'll see how close we're able to stay to that. Last year, I promised everyone would be out of here at 6 o'clock. We finished at 6:01. I think we're going to be close today, too. So I appreciate if you could stay for the full event, and I'm very conscious of when I say 6 o'clock, we're going to shoot for 6 o'clock. Go ahead, Erica, thanks. The clicker's not working, so she's going to click this through this. These are our current members for the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation. We serve as the strategic connection for both the schools and the businesses. For the schools, we are your primary link to the business community. Is Susan Hitchcock here? Yeah, from Millbury?
She was unable to make it.
Oh, okay, all right, thanks. Susan, my first meeting with Susan about 1.5 years ago, she phrased it very, very well. She says, Paul, the foundation can do things, one, we can't afford to do on our own, and two, we don't have the time or expertise to do as far as collaborating with the business and the schools. And I said to her, she nailed it. That's exactly our purpose. So we listen to you. We don't sit in the office and say, hey, wouldn't this be a great idea? We go out and hear from you about what kinds of things we can do to better serve you as the members of the foundation. And for the businesses, we're your link back to the schools. As you can see, I won't be reading through the slides because you can see them for yourselves, but there are several reasons why businesses look to work with the foundation to help get them access to the schools, to do community service with the educators. I think it was Bill DiBenedetto who told me at Lampin Corporation, I'm a good listener, a better listener than I am a speaker, told me about 1.5 years ago when I first met Bill, he says one of the reasons Lampin is committed to the schools is because some very high percentage of their employees, I forget what the number was, but it was approaching like 80%, live within 20 minutes of Lampin Corporation. And that's true for many of your employers. So your employees went to the schools we serve, their children are currently at the schools we serve, and it gets your name into the schools, showing that you're caring about the community that you're in. And that's really how we're trying to help the businesses with all of this. We run numerous programs. We weren't going to run through a laundry list because I did that for everyone last year because we got multiple other things we're trying to accomplish, but these are some of the highlight programs that tend to really attract a lot of interest. Is Deborah here from Tufts? Yep. Okay. Tufts is our primary partner for the STEM conference, and it's a major success. We run it in the fall at the Tufts Veterinary Campus. We usually have 12 to 14 to 15 students per school district. It sells out, it doesn't cost anything, but I mean, it's way oversubscribed. We have to cut it off each year at numbers, but the students spend an entire day with actually tremendous workshops, interactive. They're 7th and 8th graders to learn about careers, STEM for those who aren't in education, science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are the careers that we help prepare them for. And Tufts brings in Microsoft, Intel, Raytheon, I mean some of the major powers within the industry to attract these students to consider careers within that field. The teachers are very responsive to the entire program. To have 125 people on a college campus on a Saturday all day long, and to have them as enthused at 3:30 as they are at 8:30 is quite an accomplishment. So Tufts has been a huge partner for us with STEM. The Blackstone Valley Youth Leadership Academy, is Megan here? Is anybody here I'm calling so far? I should stop calling names. Megan Potenti from Blackstone Valley Tech is our Youth Leadership Academy director this year. And we have about 23 students, roughly 2 from each of the schools. And it's an 8-month curriculum. I mean, they are literally twice a month for 8 months, very intensive to learn leadership skills. Each of the meetings takes place at a different part of the valley so that they're learning more about the different communities and many of the historic buildings and background of the valley. And we have a graduation ceremony which will take place in April, May 1st, which is a really nice event. Should anyone want to attend it, please contact us and we'd be glad to have you join us that night. The Humanities Scholars Program, I spent the day at Stonehill College. It was yesterday or the day before? Tuesday, Stonehill College. Humanities Scholars Program, we take students to 3 different campuses. Bryant University will be the next visit, and Bridgewater State University is joining the group this year as our 3rd visit. And the students learn how to present a viewpoint and critically analyze a topic. And it's fascinating because the colleges appoint instructors from their political science division to lead an interactive campus lecture for the students where they have to present a viewpoint. Last year's theme was balancing the rights of the individual versus the collective rights of society. Think about what you can do with that one. Tuesday's theme, which is the one for this year, is to what extent should America be involved in world affairs? We picked this 5 months before Ukraine. So it was a fascinating discussion for the students, and it's superb. One of Stonehill's, apparently one of the most popular professors, conducted the session for them. These are just some of the things we do. Art in the Valley is probably easily our most well-attended event. It will take place next Friday and Saturday. And we'd like to invite you all to attend. It's open to the community. It takes place at Elmwood School here in Millbury. No, we're not in Millbury. In Millbury on Friday night from 7 to 9 and Saturday morning from 10 to 12. We have 31 teachers from the school systems throughout the valley, art teachers. That's basically every art teacher in the valley is participating in this program. 450 students will be exhibiting their work during the exhibit. 1,400 parents and community members will come through to see the exhibit. So it's a great way to see the kids' artwork, see the progression because it's K through 8. These are young kids. But again, one of the big things that we're doing, which has been very popular, and is Jeff here still, Turgeon? Jeff will be up to say a few words in a couple minutes, so I won't take a lot of time right now. But through the Central Mass Workforce Investment Board, which Jeff is the executive director, we have been receiving a Connecting Activities grant from the state coming through them into the valley for the last several years that helps us run all of the programs you've just heard about and everything else you're going to hear about during this session. So we want to thank them, and Jeff will say a few words shortly. And finally, the Amp It Up grant, which I mentioned briefly, coming through Mass Development and again coming through the Central Mass WIB. These are 2 really important grants for us as far as helping us work with the schools. So these are just some of the ideas of some of the things that we do in addition to what I'm about to tell you. Last year we sat here. I've been in education for a long time. 20 years was being nice, Chris. There is nothing that irritates me more than getting a bunch of people together for a meeting, which I don't like in general, and getting everybody excited, and then they walk out and you never hear another thing again about anything you discussed. Well, that's not what I intend to do while I'm at the foundation. If we're going to ask you to give up 2 hours of your year, once a year, for this event, then we're going to show you that what you say at these table discussions later will produce concrete results. So we went through all of the notes that you gave last year to the moderator, and we came up with the 3 things that you were in general recommending. And paraphrasing the first one, it was, we need to help students develop the basic necessary skills to enter the workforce. We responded to that. In December, thanks to John Clemens at Nipmuc for hosting it and moving half of his classes around for the day to give us workshops, workshop space, we had over 300 students from almost every district in the valley, 11th and 12th graders. We bussed them in to Nipmuc for the day. We had numerous workshops for them. Our partners at Workforce Central in Milford put on multiple workshops that day on dressing for success, basic interviewing skills, basic resume creation, how to find jobs online. We had 4 employers, Salmon Health, Wyman Gordon, Imperial Cars, and Lampin do classroom workshops. We rotated groups of about 40 students in and out of the classrooms every half hour. so that they could talk about the types of skills they look for to higher entry level. So it was a tremendous impact on a very large group of students. Secondly, we are partnering with Workforce Central in Milford to do both individual assistance for this year's graduating students and to do classroom or auditorium sessions at your schools. They are a tremendous resource in the Valley, and we're thrilled to have connected with them. You're going to be hearing me mention their name a lot, and Jeff, I'm sure, will address the, we consider a very strategic relationship with them. But these are the services, these are the services that will be available to the students, especially those who are graduating in June. And you really need to talk to us about how we can get some of these speakers into your schools for the earlier grades, either before the academic year ends this year or to set something up for the fall. And then our third response to this first one is we're going to hold the first Blackstone Valley Student Jobs Fair ever held, specifically targeting the juniors and seniors who are looking for either part-time summer employment before going off to college or full-time employment following graduation because they are not going directly on to college on a full-time basis. Again, our partners will be the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce and Workforce Central. It will be done during the entire month of May. We're going to have a lot of information coming out to the schools. It will be promoted almost exclusively just within our member schools. We're going to be asking the businesses to post their listings on a website yet to be created. And we'll be accessing, we'll have the students and families being able to access it to get real-time information during the entire month of May about the hiring potential for summer employment for the graduating seniors. So each of these three things are a direct result of the roundtable discussions last year, and that's only the first. Second one. You asked us also, in addition to that we create some type of professional development activity so that guidance counselors and teachers were better prepared to assist students with the job search process. What we have done this year. On April 16th, Erica was all excited when she emailed me and Amy a couple days ago because we created this program, again, to be based at Workforce Central in Milford. They have a capacity for about 20 teachers and counselors. We're doing a kind of a full academic day program for them where they are actually going to be at a computer and they're going to be learning about all of the free job search resources available to families to locate jobs in the Valley, to be able to project employment hiring for certain jobs over the next few years. Fascinating professional development. I mean, so interesting that Jonathan has put together, the three of us will be there for the whole day just to participate, just to see what we can learn. So Erica emailed us 2 days ago to say, Paul, Amy, we got all 10 schools participating and we're already full. And that was literally about a week and a half of advertising. So every one of your schools will be represented there. This will lead to additional professional development in this area. But this is the first strong connection with each of your schools so that there will at least be 1 to 3 people in your schools who have a thorough understanding of how to help families with this job search process. The next recommendation, we don't have a clicker, so I got to keep turning around here. The next thing that we're doing is this past spring, literally about a month after we ran Forum last year, we put this together real quickly, we did a job skills awareness full day for a teacher. We had 2 principals, Tara was there, Tara Bennett. We had 2 principals, we had a couple of guidance counselors, and we had several teachers, and we literally took them to 3 local manufacturers, Lampin Corporation, TCA, Access TCA, and Mayfield Plastics, so they could meet with staff, talk to employees, find out about the kind of skill levels that were required for these fields. We were all blown away by how highly technical manufacturing has become. I mean, blown away by it. It was a tremendous learning experience. BVT hosted us later for a luncheon that day. We had a panel of experts basically within the field talk to the teachers and educators about the opportunities and the skills required. And this is going to continue with the discussion shortly. We've got 3 questions to work on. So these were some of our responses. And the final one you asked us to do last year, assist schools in bringing more career speakers into the classroom. Thanks to Amy, we're pleased to announce today that in your packet on the left-hand side, we are launching the Blackstone Valley Career Awareness Speakers Bureau. And what we will be doing is we're soliciting you today to please put your information on there if you'd be willing to do some speaking engagements at the schools. We won't overburden you. We're talking maybe about 3 times a year, 4 times a year at most, entirely at your convenience. But if you could fill this out and leave it at the registration table or give it to one of us today, we'd appreciate it, because we want to have several dozen people. We're going to be contacting the entire chamber membership for this. We're going to be using Workforce Central to promote their database of employers. But we want to really build a speaker's guide for schools so that they can contact us. We can give them the list of speakers, the topics they're from, the companies they're from, and you can assume in most cases they'll be classroom size, 20 to 30 students, classroom period, 40 to 60 minutes, and greatly appreciated. So we've got a whole template for evaluation, for contacts, for information, but we'd really encourage, we'd love to come out of today with several of you leaving this information saying you'd be willing to do it. So these are the 3 things you asked us to do last year. These are the 3 things we've responded to this year. And when I'm standing up here next year, we're going to be talking about the things that you tell us over the next hour and 15 minutes and showing you what happened next year. So we're very results oriented from these forums. These aren't a bunch of let's talk about the philosophy of education. These are about what are the needs, what can we do to solve those needs. Any questions about these? Okay, super. The school grants program is probably our most popular, and it is money donated to the Education Foundation so that we can supply grants to the schools. What we seek are teachers, guidance counselors, or administrators submitting creative grants that help extend the classroom into the community or the workplace. And our largest contributor is Lampin Corporation. They're actually going to present us with a check later today. Let me tell you about Lampin, what I've learned about them. This is an employee-owned corporation. That means senior management doesn't make the decision to make this commitment. The employees make the decision to make the commitment. And they are so committed to what we're doing at the foundation and so committed to this grant program. And in your folder on the right-hand side, you will see the grant application for this year. We are strongly encouraging the schools to get this information into the hands of teachers. We've sent multiple mailings to your schools, but I know at schools things get lost. But the deadline is when, Erica? April 29th, just after April vacation. We decide in May, we notify you at the beginning of June, and the money is available for next academic year for your program. Lampin this year contacted me, we had not even asked for it, and said not only are they renewing their commitment, they're increasing it on their own for these scholarships. When you've got that kind of community dedication and leadership in a business, we want you at the schools to recognize this. Lampin is a small company, but making this strong commitment to help you in the schools. So the Lampin grants have been extraordinarily popular. Now to the chamber. Jeannie, do you mind standing? Could we also have everyone on the chamber golf committee stand? And stay standing, please. Chamber board members who are here who are not on the golf committee. Let me tell you why we just acknowledged them. Thank you. They meet weekly. Where's Will? Will Kersey. Hey, the chair of the committee. They meet almost weekly as they get closer. Dedicated group to hold a golf tournament here in May. You've got information on the right-hand side of your packet. You've got a brochure, a sign-up brochure, and another form for sponsorship. They raise and donate to the foundation over $15,000 a year to run these 2 grant programs and several of the services that I just showed you. So the community education grants, thanks to the Chamber of Commerce Golf Tournament, help fund a number of things that enhance classroom activities that are not as technical necessarily in nature as the Lampin grants may be. And the innovative academic grants We also, we fund both classroom activities, and the second phase of the Chamber grants is we will fund your career trips for students and teachers to locations where they can learn more about careers, see employees, get an understanding of what it all covers. And we'll reimburse buses up to $500 for each of those. So our thanks to the Chamber. These grants are for you. The money comes to us and it goes to you. And we just want you to be very, very aware of this kind of community commitment between Lampin and the Chamber to do these things. Thanks to Amy, we've enhanced our website. You'll be able to access forms to sign up families or yourselves for many of our programs that we talked about online. You can access all of the information about the grants online. You can download the grant application. So, you know, hand that thing to a teacher and tell him or her, go online, get that grant thing in by the end of April vacation for next year and for consideration. We have a new grants committee this year. They will meet once. Our job is to try to approve the grants. So if you submit something that, as we had one come in already, that didn't quite meet what we were looking for, we'll call you back and say, you kind of missed it a little bit here in what you're looking for. If we can tweak it this way or that way, I think we can do some funding for you. So it's very much a dialogue to get this money back into the schools as effectively as we can. The Art in the Valley, as I mentioned, next week, strong commercial to promote it. And now we're up to the roundtable discussions, which will be starting after we've got a couple of people coming up here to the microphone. This will be the first question for the roundtable. You've got copies on your table of these questions. We'll talk about how it's going to work shortly. But first, let me ask Jeff Turgeon, our partner from Central Mass WIB, to come up. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for inviting me to say a few words tonight, and thanks also for all the amazing things that you and the Foundation's doing around youth workforce development. For those that don't know, the Workforce Investment Board oversees the public workforce system in central Massachusetts. So that includes federal and a combination of federal and state funds, as well as the 3 career centers. So there's one in Milford, as well as Worcester and Southbridge, and then a variety of youth work readiness programs as well, second chance youth programs, including the summer jobs program, as well as connecting activities. I would like to acknowledge, Jonathan, could you stand up? Jonathan Cortez is the manager of the Workforce Central office down in Milford, and doing, I'm actually amazed to hear all the neat stuff that they've got going on. I would say truly, there's 33 career centers across the state, and I'm going to say Jonathan and his team over there at Workforce Central are probably really in the vanguard and the most creative when it comes to partnering with local youth programs. So the amount of things that you have going on in partnership is great to see, and is exactly the direction I think that we want to take the system to really be responsive to community needs. So, you know, I came across a couple articles recently that I thought were interesting. One was a poll that came out that said 11% of business leaders, 11%, think that recent graduates from college have the skills and competencies necessary to be successful in the workplace. 11%. On the other hand, another report came out that found a survey of college academic officers. 96% think that they're properly preparing young people to enter the workplace. So you can see that huge disconnect, right, that exists. And I think it's programs, you know, Paul, like you're talking about, that really help to bridge some of that gap. And specifically, I think one thing that research kind of bears out is that hands-on experience, workplace exposure and experience for young people while they're in high school, even exposure a little bit earlier too to what career paths are and what they're all about, is a huge way to get people thinking, young people to think about their future and what they should be learning in terms of career and how to go into that. So there are 2 programs that we work very closely, among all the other things that Paul had mentioned that we're doing with Workforce Central as well. There's 2 real programs I wanted to highlight. One is Amp It Up, which the foundation is running locally here to really highlight the opportunities available to young people in manufacturing. I think you all know that, I don't have to preach here, but there is a rapidly aging workforce in manufacturing. We have kind of skipped a couple generations now of young people going into manufacturing as a career. And so we're really playing catch up as a system. So programs like Amp It Up that help expose young people to the career opportunities and the real living wage that they can earn. I think the average wage in manufacturing is over $65,000 a year. So we're talking great jobs there. The other program I wanted to mention was Connecting Activities, and again, the foundation does a wonderful job as our program partner down here in the Valley to run that program, to really connect people, connect students with career information, activities, and internship opportunities. And just to kind of give you a sense of how successful this program is. So in Central Massachusetts, we receive a little over $100,000 of the state's investment. And I know Senator Moore and Senator Moore here, the allocation statewide is $2.75 million. And that's statewide. That's actually less than half of what it was about 5 years ago. So it's been slowly eroded down. But in Central Massachusetts, we receive, as a whole region, a little over $100,000 for that program. We're able, through the work of the foundation and the guidance counselors and teachers working on the ground in the schools, to turn that into leveraging over $900,000 in student wages paid by the private sector. So we're able to take that state investment and really leverage that out there and really allow young people to earn almost $1 million here in the region for that investment. So I would continue support for those two programs continuing. I know that the governor and our local delegation have always been very strong proponents of work preparation programs, including the Youth Work Summer Jobs Program, as well as the Connecting Activities Program. So I want to thank them for that support and urge continued support in the face of continuing budget cuts. Again, thanks for having me. I know we're trying to keep on track here. We've got an agenda to follow. So again, thank you for having me. I look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you. And finally, before we hit the roundtables, I'd like to ask both Senator Richard Moore and Senator Michael Moore to come forward, please. I just found out about this. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks very much. And I know some of you probably wonder if we're related. And in fact, a number of people have even suggested that we are twins. You may remember the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. And everyone's told me they think Michael looks just like Danny DeVito. I have more seniority than he does. I wanted just two things before we make the presentation, and Michael might want to say a few words about higher education as well as Senate Chair of that committee. There are a couple of areas that the foundation's involved in that are particularly important. One is, I'm going to focus primarily on the leadership one and the humanities program, because we need to do a better job of educating people for citizenship, for involved, I'm not talking about people coming here from another country, but our own people to be active, engaged citizens. Horace Mann, and Michael thinks I served with him in the Massachusetts Senate when he was the Senate President, and led the effort for public education, really was for it and convinced people to support it for two reasons. One, not only to create people who are prepared and ready to go into the workforce in whatever field that might be, but also to be active citizens. And if you ever wonder why there's such a disconnect in the public when you go out and try to sell your school budgets, or even worse, to try to sell an override, the public does not understand how government works or what their role is in government, or how to get involved for the most part. And we haven't done a good job, probably for 30 years or better, in the citizenship, the civics side of that. And I had the opportunity thanks to a former superintendent from the Valley, Dave Roach, who's a member of the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, brought in members of my Special Commission on Civic Education and Learning to talk to the commissioner and the board about a month ago to look at what should we be doing, because it's actually a state law that we're supposed to teach history and civics for graduation requirement, even though it's kind of been under the radar with MCAS and everything else these days. But it is something that our public higher education folks are focused on. In the new vision statement that public higher education in Massachusetts put out, they are going to be focusing on citizenship and civic engagement. One of the concerns we have, unless we do something at the elementary and secondary level, those kids are going to be coming in unprepared to deal with those requirements that the public higher education is working on. The other point, and it was great timing because my House colleague from Milford just ended, Representative John Fernandez, he and I have launched a manufacturing caucus in the legislature, and one of the major things that we found, we've got about 60 members between the House and Senate who are interested in this, and that is that the manufacturing, which when I was a kid was kind of grimy and those the old mills and very labor intensive, nowadays is very technology intensive. A much cleaner operation. There's some of them even wear white coats in robotics and in laser and in fiber optics and so those many fields. And they've told John and I, as we visited some of the businesses, that the students today really don't have the skills needed to do that. I'm not talking about the students at Blackstone Valley Vocational or the other book schools, but students don't have the right attitude to some degree and the right set of skills to work and to make it in that workforce. And there are over 100,000 openings in Massachusetts for, as I think Paul mentioned, jobs that pay salaries around $70,000 a year, so not bad. That's an area that the state will be focusing on, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that in the future. What we do have, and the reason Michael's going to come up, and then he can say some words after we do the presentation, is we have a resolution from the Senate. Paul will be able to put this on his dashboard, and no police will stop him as he makes the rounds to the various schools.
I told you that.
Just call Michael. From the Senate, the Massachusetts Senate extends its congratulations to the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation in recognition of the critical role you play in helping local school districts to better prepare students for the Blackstone Valley's workforce needs of tomorrow. And it's signed by our President, Therese Murray, and offered by both myself and Senator Michael Moore. And now, the junior Senator Moore.
Good afternoon. Thank you. It's nice to be here today to discuss education. Roughly 4 years ago, when I first got the committee assignment for the Committee on Higher Education, we held oversight hearings, 4 different hearings, and we called in each branch or system of our higher education community. One was the University of Massachusetts system, one was our state university systems, and one was our community college systems, and then our private colleges. And this just goes to show, as we're talking about how our education systems are so closely aligned, when we started talking about addressing the achievement gap that we saw in our students graduating from high school, and I was really taken back by this because I thought all the college presidents would be coming in advocating for more resources for their programs. What struck me is that every system and each panel of presidents all said that if we were going to address the achievement gap of our students, and this goes to the skills that we expect our students to have, we had to tackle it by the 3rd grade. That if the students by the 3rd grade didn't have the basic foundation of skills, reading, writing, math, that it was going to be very difficult for them to catch up by the time they graduate. And we also have, when we're going through, and again, when I first got the assignment, I assumed that there would be some sort of formula or basis for the funding of our community colleges, which actually they're the ones that, there's no pre-screening acceptance level of students coming to the schools. Our community colleges, they accept everyone. Unlike our universities and University of Mass system and the private colleges, they don't have the option of saying you don't meet our standard, or you don't meet the grade level work. 65% of our students going from high school into community colleges needed remedial programming, remedial classes, weren't doing college level work. And then as we delved deeper into the community colleges, one thing that struck me about that was the fact that there was no funding formula for the community colleges. The 5 community colleges in the Commonwealth that had the highest full-time enrollment rate were the 5 lowest funded. So one thing that we did, and this was actually with help from the business community, the Boston Foundation put together a strong coalition of support from the Chambers of Commerce and other corporations and business entities, and they came before the legislature, and they actually had a study showing that we had roughly about 100,000 jobs in allied health and manufacturing that couldn't be filled because our students didn't have the basic skills. So one way to help rectify that is we did 3 years ago a community college reform piece of legislation that requires the community college to have a better, more involvement from the local business community on their boards of trustees. This way the school, when they're developing their curriculum and the programs that they're going to offer, they're getting information from you, the business community, on what you need for skills in employees graduating, coming before them. The other thing we did, and we've been one of the most aggressive states in the country to do this, we established a performance funding formula that our community colleges, if you look at them, had a graduation rate of roughly 17%. You're going to say that, well, that sounds dismal. But in all actuality, the way that they were being graded, the metrics they were looking at didn't count for students that may have gone there for 1 year, got a certificate or a license, and then transferred to a 4-year institution. So there were a lot of factors that weren't being considered. So we passed legislation, we created a commission, and we brought in outside experts. Now, most states around the country that have gone to some form of performance funding metric give their schools a base appropriation, and then they add 5 or 10% to their funding based on them meeting certain metrics, graduation rates, transferring of students to 4-year institutions, successful transferring to students to 4-year institutions, the issuance of certificates or licenses in specific fields. Well, what we did in Massachusetts, we established a 50% performance funding metric. So half their funding now comes from them being successful in meeting the goals that have been established by trustees, by the business community, so that we know that our community colleges they need to work with you. If they're going to be successful in meeting these metrics, they have to have involvement with the local community. The other thing that we're trying to do in the last, because I know we're under time restraints here, the other thing we're trying to do is help with the students as far as student loan debt. What we did last year, and before we gave them the funding, we again went to each segment, and we received written documentation from them that if we gave the UMass system a 50% funding level, they would hold tuition and fees at the current year's rates. And we did that for each segment. We did that for the University of Massachusetts system, the state university systems, and the community colleges. And roughly, this past year that we're currently in, we increased funding to our higher education institutions by approximately $90 million. It was the largest increase in funding and support that they had received in over a decade. We went in Massachusetts, who we think that we're world-renowned as far as our higher education system as being #1. Well, our funding levels prior to last year, we 38th in the country as far as the level of funding. With this additional $90 million that we just gave this past year, we're down to 27th in the country. But that $90 million put us, we were in the top 5 for increasing support. So I think we're on the right move, in the right direction, is trying to provide our students with accessibility to skills and the education they need. But we've got a long way to go. And one thing that we have tried to focus on when we did this higher education reform, we also established what they call in-demand scholarships, where we have the Secretary of Education, the Office of Workforce Development, and the Office of Economic Development. They identified 5 career paths. And schools that can show new programs, development of new programs, and success in those areas also receive additional funding. So we've tried to stress to our higher education community that they have to work with the business community. That's the only way we're going to be successful, and it's the only way the economy is going to grow, and everyone will, down the road, have the skills and lead a very successful and fruitful life. But thank you very much. It's great seeing you all. And
I know I don't have to tell this room, but these two senators are extraordinarily supportive of us at the foundation and of education in general throughout the region. So thank you both. Quick comment, this would not have happened today without Erica and Amy on our staff at the foundation. They put this whole thing together, and this is an extraordinary production. And it was really thanks to their organization, because as they will both readily tell you, I still can't even find the U drive in the office. So it's thanks to them that we're here today. Let's move right on to the questions. Each table is going to be facilitated by a board member. Many of the tables also have a representative from the sponsor corporation who will be helping with the discussion. The board member will either take notes or ask someone at the table to take notes, so that again, when I'm standing up here next year, I can show you this is what you asked for today, this is what we're doing to help you. We've got roughly about 8 to 10 minutes for each of the 3 questions. So we'll keep the question on the board. I'll interrupt you to give you a 1-minute warning to go to the next question, and then we'll change the screen for that. Please respect each other's opinions, even if you don't agree with them, and please try to keep everyone involved. The questions are very focused. We're not talking philosophy, as I said here. We're talking about tangible, concrete things the foundation can do with all of you to take another step in the right direction next year. Thanks. We convened this forum today from several, actually about 10 of the school districts throughout the Blackstone Valley, most represented by senior level administrators, multiple teachers. We have the local legislative delegation present, and we have much of the business community present. Our job today is to try to identify the skill areas that high school students need in order to successfully enter careers and jobs, especially within the Blackstone Valley area. So why are we convening all of the groups together? Because employers locally don't just hire from one town or one high school. They hire from the communities that surround them. So we at the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation do something like this today in order to get the schools to sit at the table together, to collaborate together, and to identify how we at the foundation can better help them prepare the students for all of the employers that are around the Valley region. The foundation was founded as a nonprofit back in 1999. Originally, it was a standing education committee for the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce. We're now an independent nonprofit, still working very closely with the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce and with other Chamber of Commerces throughout the area.
I'm pleased to report that I'm a member of the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation Board of Directors. So in that capacity, I was here today representing Milford Schools, but also as a board member. I brought some members of the Milford School team here because I think it's important that the school department collaborate with area businesses and in creating opportunities and pathways for kids. That's been a lot of what we've done. The Hospitality and Tourism Management Program is one example of a way the school department has partnered with the industry. And now we're looking for more ways to create pathways for kids, whether it's through the kinds of job skills, resume writing, interviewing skills, the sorts of things that kids will need to actually be a competitive applicant in the workforce. So today was all about that, networking with area professionals, with other educators, other superintendents, other industry professionals, and saying what are the needs out there and how can we work together to best help our kids get there.
Okay, thank you, everyone. The discussion sounded like they were quite lively. If the person who recorded some of the comments could leave them at the front registration table before leaving. If anyone participating in the discussion, because these are short time frames, wishes to meet with me, Erica, or Amy to further discuss some of these things, please contact us. We'll be glad to grab coffee or lunch somewhere and discuss the topics a little bit further. If you have some suggestions or ideas on these topics that couldn't get fully discussed today, we'd love to hear them, frankly, so thank you very much. We're closing out the forum over the next few minutes. We ask you to please remain seated. We've got some awards and recognitions that are very important. First of all, I'd like to ask the group from Lampin to come up here for a presentation. Bill DiBenedetto, the president of Lampen Corporation, has a check to present to Amy and Erica for the foundation. And this is what goes to fund the Lampen grants. So again, with great appreciation to the employees who are here from all of us. Thank you very much. And we have one more, and we'd like Unibank, please. Chris Foley is Senior Vice President, Joe Michaelbeck, who is our treasurer at the foundation and also on the board for Unibank. And again, Amy and Erica. And this $10,000 goes to fund all of the programs for youths that I showed you. Unibank with a strong commitment in their grant program to youth services throughout the valley. Thank you. I took abuse from Amy yesterday in the office because my greatest accomplishment about this forum, as you'll notice as we're closing it down here, is I have managed to avoid every single formal picture so far, the way we structured this. We started a tradition last year of making awards from the Blackstone Valley Education Foundation to key members of the education community and the business community who have gone over and above their typical roles, not just to help students, not just to help education, but very specifically to help us with our mission in the Valley. And we've got a couple of those very important awards right now. Is Carrie here? From Lorna, is Carrie here? Yes, okay, I didn't see before. I'm going to ask Lorna Pezzanelli from Millbury and Carrie Volk from Blackstone Millville, if they could please come forward. There is a reason we are honoring these two, and believe me, we were going to honor them last year, but in our scheduling confusion, we scheduled the forum last year for the day before Art in the Valley. So these two couldn't be here last year because they were frantically setting up for the program. So I said, next year we're getting you. These two, entirely on their own, organized and took the initiative for Art in the Valley. Since then, they have great collaboration from 29 other art teachers throughout the Valley. Without their leadership, this program would not take place. So we have a nice, really attractive pen and pencil set with the plaque on it. And for each of you, it reads, "For leadership to advance art education and appreciation." And they've become really good friends of mine. And we're not supposed to tell anybody that our planning sessions take place during happy hour at Applebee's, but I will say that. Congratulations. And Deborah Kochevar could not be here today. She is the dean at Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine at Tufts, and because of her strong commitment over the years to keep this STEM conference not only continuing but growing, we have a special award for her, but she could not be here, so I do want a round of applause for everything Tufts has done to help us with this. Tara Bennett. Where's Tara? Tara is the principal at Uxbridge High School. We first connected just about a year ago, actually. She has become a very close advisor to us at Blackstone Valley Education Foundation, extraordinarily motivated and dedicated educator who continually seeks ways to enhance and expand services for the students. Let me give you an example of how helpful it is. Tara hosted the advisory committee that Erica chairs for us a couple weeks ago at Uxbridge High School. They had the largest attendance for the committee they've ever had. Erica comes back into the office afterwards, and we had this big plan for a jobs thing, different from what I showed you. And she sat down, she looks at me, she says, "Tara doesn't think we should do it." And I said, well, she worded it differently. And she explained the rationale about it was the wrong timing for the year to do it. And within 10 minutes, we changed it. And it was really because of the direct input we get from people like Tara and the rest of you to let us know what will work, what won't work, and when will it best work that we do something like this. And when we're a staff of 3, it was so funny because Amy joining us from EMC, every time we were making changes like this or getting something approved or sending out a press release, she kept saying, well, don't you have to get this approved by legal or corporate? And I said, you know, Erica, you be legal, I'll be corporate, let's tell Amy we can do it. So Tara, on behalf of the foundation, the plaque on yours will read, for her motivation to maximize career opportunities for her students. And our final one is by no means our least important. Lee Gaudette couldn't be here last year because he was out of state on a trip, and he also would have received this award last year. President of Gaudette Insurance, when I make a statement, I've done a lot of trainings in the past, my words are exactly worded. They're not just throwing words out there. There is no one in this room today who is more responsible for the existence and success of Blackstone Valley Education Foundation than Lee. He's one of the founding members of it. It's his energy, his hard work, and his dedication that have kept it together for over 15 years, that have it thriving right now. It's really its peak production and peak commitment to the community. So on behalf of the foundation and all of your board colleagues who are here, Lee, we'd like to award you, and it reads, for his commitment to advancing the mission and success of Blackstone Valley Education Foundation. We'll even let you say a couple words. I have no choice.
Well, I really feel like it's bad form to be accepting a award when you're still on the board and engaged heavily in the work. Feels a little bit like a pre-memorial, but I'm not going to let Paul off the hook on the photo thing.
Oh.
No, we're done.
That's it?
That's it.
Thanks,
You
Lee.
make 6 o'clock.
Thank you. We are finishing at 6 o'clock sharp, and if Scott Rossiter wasn't the final award recipient last year, we would have been done right on the minute. Thank you all for coming. We will compile everything you just produced at the tables, and before April vacation, we'll get an email out to you explaining what the recommendations were and the action plans we're going to take forward. Thank you very much.
Ask them to leave their name tags.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more really quick announcement. It's really important, sorry. State Representative John Fernandez. For the award recipients, there is a citation coming from the State House for each of you, which we will get to you at your local business. And Representative Fernandez is leading the effort with the State Manufacturing Caucus to explore possible funding for a new program here in the Valley that will directly work with getting students into internship placements, especially in the manufacturing sector. I will be contacting the schools at his direction between now and April vacation to see if you're interested in pursuing this. We'll need a letter of interest from the superintendent. I will be contacting some of the local businesses to see if you're willing to consider participating, and we will need a letter of interest from you. And we thank Representative Fernandez for that leadership. Thank you and good night.